Hi guys, today's the 4th of May 2019 at 1:51 in the afternoon over here in the UK. And just as I was uploading the video, I was uploading interpretation, which will follow after this short video. I found this report. North Korea fires short-range missiles off of its coast. South Korean officials are saying North Korea has fired several short-range missiles into the sea off its eastern coast, according to reports from South Korea. South Korea's military has bolstered its surveillance in case there are additional weapon launches, and South Korean and U.S. authorities are analyzing the details. It is confirmed that North Korea fired banned ballistic missiles. It would be the first such launch since the November's 2017 test of an intercontinental ballistic missile. That year saw a string of increasingly powerful weapons tests from the North and a belligerent response from U.S. President Donald Trump that had many in the region fearing war. So we've gone backwards. The peace deal is falling apart. Um, North Korea is seeking something from Russia, more like security and potential backing if a war was to break out on the Korean Peninsula. Obviously, they've been meeting with China. Kim Jong Un took his private train there recently. Um, they had their tactical ballistic, sorry, not ballistic. They had their tactical weapons test recently. News about them continuing building their submersible barge slash submarine. Um, the news about them rebuilding their nuclear test site in Pyongyang. They're certainly moving towards um, something big. The reports were they gave the United States until the end of this year to change its posture on sanctions associated with North Korea and this whole peace and security situation that's going on over there. Things may devolve well before that, but obviously December 31st is a date that we have on Watch New Year's. A lot of things potentially going on around that time. However, in association with the video that's about to play, a lot of things are taking place now. We had since the Notre Dame Cathedral burning down on April 15th, there's been a lot of things happening and a lot of things setting up ready for the events that we've been talking about. So I'm going to end this part of the video here and join on to the video I was uploading before I found this news. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Hi guys, today is the 4th of May 2019 at 9 minutes past 10 in the morning over here in the UK. I'm going to try and do this as quickly and as succinctly as possible. The commander of Iran's regular army has asked his forces to be ready as though an attack on the country is imminent. The interesting part of this story gets down here. Meanwhile, the former head of Iran state broadcasting, Mohammad Safaraz, who appears to have high-level backing in his public statements, said in an interview published May 1st that war is probable after the month of Ramadan, which is between May 5th and June 4th. My thoughts are, what if it happens during the month of Ramadan? In the iPad Go-To video, we have Osama bin Laden, which represents Pakistan and possibly Iran at the same time, both Muslim nations who will be taking part in Ramadan. Stop that right there. The motion that he's doing there is of water kind of washing over the body. Now that has been interpreted in this video as a tsunami, which I do think is connected to a volcanic eruption, possibly, or most likely, as he has the fire on his beard moving upwards, and this kind of smoky wave-like motion, which kind of suggests volcanic ash and tsunami at the same time. But also the motion is part of a ritual practice of cleansing in Islam, which is called wudu, and it involves washing the hands, mouth, nostrils, arms, head, and feet with water, and is an important part of ritual purity in Islam. Wudu is typically done in preparation for formal prayers, salat, and a lot of prayer goes on during the month of Ramadan. So it's possible that during the month of Ramadan we could see an attack on Iran, which leads to them blocking the Strait of Hormuz, and the oil prices dipping or dropping. Sorry, the oil prices rising, the oil supply dipping, and the stock market plunging, connected with other things as well, most likely. I think the reason Iran might be attacked is twofold. One, because they have the potential for blocking the Strait of Hormuz, and likely America won't be able to bring their oil production down to 0%, which is where they want to bring it. But also the theory that I've presented before of Iran being blamed for an attack on a European country like UK. Now, the Queen is set to attend a royal wedding on May the 18th, which is on Saturday, and it's for Lady Gabrielle Windsor. Now, most likely, if the Queen is attending, then a lot of the royal family will be attending, and I think that may be connected to the part of the iPad Go-To video we see here. The diamond ring, as I said before, is on the engagement finger and seems to be connected with a wedding of some kind. This diamond ring is on the hand of death. The death figure is wearing a top hat, a cape, has the party favour out of his mouth like a pipe would be, and later on in the video we also see that he has a cane, gives you the appearance of a rich person, aristocrat. We've interpreted that as possibly being Donald Trump, which it could be. We haven't seen his taxes, so we really don't know if he's as rich as he says he is. But it's also possible that it could be connected with like the royal family, the Queen and stuff like that, and a wedding. And obviously I've pointed out the fact that I think the video references the Queen dying and, you know, Prince Harry taking over. But how's it possible for Prince Harry to take over when he is, you know, quite far down the line? In the process, Meghan is about to give birth, so while the Queen will attend and other members of the royal family will attend, Meghan and Prince Harry are unlikely to attend because they are expecting to announce their newborn child any day now. It could be that it's delayed all the way till June, but most likely we'll see a baby this month. I think if the baby is connected with Prince Harry and Prince Harry is connected with the Antichrist, then they'll try and give birth to this baby on a Sunday. Could be tomorrow, May 5th, we'll see. I really don't know, just taking a guess there. But obviously, we've got the Invictus Games coming up again, and that's the whole I Am reference, and I've been through all of that. A lot of you have been following me for a while, all know what I think about Prince Harry and the royal family. In terms of the line of succession, Prince Harry is 6th in line at the moment. If another baby was to be born between William and Kate, then he'd be pushed even further down the line. But as I said, I think with the Queen attending this wedding on May 18th, it's likely that her son will be there, Charles, his son William, his son George, his daughter Charlotte, and the new baby. Just they're calling the new prince at the moment. That's quite suspicious, actually, when I think about it, for April 23rd. But if all of them were to attend the wedding and something was to happen at that wedding, that would leave Prince Harry as the king, the first in line for the throne. And he, as I said, him and Meghan will likely not attend because they're expecting their baby soon. If the baby hasn't been born, well, even if the baby has been born by then, it will only be a couple of weeks old, so likely they won't be attending any public functions. But, you know, I'm just putting it out there, Game of Thrones could be a whole quick shift moving through, you know, 5 people in a line of succession to get straight to Prince Harry in Victor's Games I Am and his new child with Meghan, who I think they're using as the symbolic representation of the woman from the Bible waiting to give birth, and then all sorts of stuff happening after that. The waters coming forward, the tsunami, the earth opening to help the woman, the earthquake. So, you know, that's why I think once she gives birth, things might start happening. And I think possibly she could give birth to twins, I don't know. It's just an idea that I have. And one of them could be snatched up to heaven while the other remains. And it could be like that whole Cain and Abel reference, you know, one good, one bad. And they could hit a lot of biblical points with that if they really wanted to. This video is frozen, but I had it on the scene just after this where the baby is inside the eggshell, kind of waiting to be born. And that was the kind of connection that I have to Meghan and this baby waiting to be born, and then all sorts of stuff happening after that. I think the Notre Dame fire was a marker. So where we see the spire collapsing, the crown of thorns disappearing in this reference, the crown of thorns was removed from the Notre Dame Cathedral. We also have just like, sorry, let's see if I can, don't know if it's going to come back. Might have to reload it. Anyway, I was just going to talk about the fire on his beard, similar to the fire on the beard of Osama bin Laden that we saw, and it's upside down, kind of moving upwards, which suggests some sort of volcanic eruption. but again, in the foreground seems to be interacting with the background, so it's possible while we're seeing the fire on the beard, we're also seeing the tsunami in the background. If I can get it back there. There we are. So the fire on the beard, we've got the tsunami in the background, so that could be again the volcanic eruption linked to the landslide tsunami, but it could also be connected to another church or cathedral or chapel. In this reference, I'm thinking chapel because we have the May 18th wedding. The possibility that something happens there could be connected to some sort of underground explosion. I don't know. Again, that would also connect with, sorry about the computer, that would also connect with Game of Thrones in the scene with Cersei blowing up the scepter Baelor using wildfire from underground. Possible we could have a similar connection at the St. George's Chapel, where the royal family, most of them, will be attending the royal wedding. And then that could be, as I said, blamed on Iran. And then obviously Iran is telling its people to prepare for war anytime. War is likely after the month of Ramadan, but it's possible that war comes during the month of Ramadan, and the volcanic eruption and the tsunami and the birth of a baby and an earthquake and all of it. Um, so I think there's a lot to watch for. We're also about to enter into we are in the Aquarius meteor shower, which is basically the Earth moving into the debris of Halley's Comet. But we tend to get most connections with Earth atmosphere around May 5th or 6th, which is tomorrow and Monday. Obviously, as I said, tomorrow, Sunday, the possibility of Meghan giving birth to the baby on a Sunday, just to reference that sun reference, that being connected to, the whole Antichrist just coming out of the tunnel in the scene, which is kind of the Antichrist birth into the world. He just opens his eyes for the first time, and then in front of him we see the meteor shower and possible impact in Egypt if the actual pyramids of Giza are a location. I don't know if it's actually referencing the biggest pyramid, but it seems as if something impacts with this pyramid. It starts to crumble, and just as we see the church crumbling, Notre Dame didn't actually crumble, but it's possible that that's a double reference, meaning Notre Dame Cathedral on fire, spire collapse, but the crumbling reference is to St. George's Chapel with the royal family, fire from underground. That's just all my thoughts coming out at the moment. So a lot to watch for, and then just kind of separately, kind of connected but a bit separate. There's a lot of stuff going on around meteors and a possible meteor impact. So I'm just going to quickly go through these reports and just show you how closely linked they are. NASA warns of a major meteor strike. NASA warns a major meteor strike is on its way. And then NASA and FEMA and international partners had their asteroid impact exercise, which we talked about. I think that came up April 30th or something like that. Japan drops a bomb on an asteroid in order to determine its composition and understand its origin. It seems to me like another kind of practice test. SpaceX wins the contract from NASA to launch this DART asteroid impact mission, which is a mission to deter an asteroid off its trajectory. The announcement of Space Force. And then I think that it could all be possibly connected to this asteroid Apophis, which is due to pass by the Earth close enough to be seen with the visible eye on Friday the 13th. Sorry, 1 second. Close enough to be seen with the visible eye on Friday the 13th, 2029, also known as the God of Chaos. Another Game of Thrones reference, Chaos is a ladder. So I would suggest we just keep our ears and eyes open for information, because it seems as if, I mean, it's 10 years away, but that's within most of our lifetimes. And obviously, if other things are happening prior to 2029, where people are thinking about tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanoes, nuclear war, and stuff like that, I think all of this is just going to fade into the background and, possibly approach sometime in the future, um, less focused on than actually what's happening on the earth at the time. And obviously, that could all be connected to the biblical passages of a mountain on fire being cast into the ocean, or the great star burning. Lots to watch for, lots going on. And just separately, talking about volcanoes, Kilauea, one of the volcanoes we've been watching for any potential eruption, particularly around Fissure 8, landslide collapsed into the ocean of the Lena Slump, generating a tsunami towards the west coast of the United States and generally in the whole Pacific region. A soldier visiting Hawaii's national park falls into the volcano, but survives, doesn't fall into the lava, obviously, falls into the caldera, but survives. And I just find it incredibly suspicious. It's not just a person, it's a soldier of the U.S. Army, who's climbed over a permanent railing, apparently to get a closer look, and fell in. The likelihood of that is quite low, in my opinion. It's not every day that people fall into volcanoes. It's even less that soldiers fall into volcanoes. So I don't know what's going on over there. Obviously, there was the whole eruption last year. The fact that NASA sent a submarine down to do, we don't really know what the reports were from them, to get like a survey of the area, geological survey, marine life, stuff like that. But we really don't know what was happening. And now we've got, a soldier falling into a volcano after climbing over a railing, and we really don't know what was actually taking place at that time. So something to watch for. And it just reminded me of the report about the man walking on Old Faithful in Yellowstone, looking like he was urinating into the actual caldera, or into a part of it. I just don't want to go back that far. Just kind of show you from here. Turn the volume down. These people do love to scream. So there's just a lot of weird things happening around volcanoes that are on, high watch. And I don't know if it means more than their own stupidity, but it's certainly curious, interesting, and suspicious, and that's why I've put it in this report. So that's the end of the reports, and I just want to just quickly clarify that what I'm looking out for is, one, the possible birth of Meghan's baby tomorrow, on a Sunday. It may be, any other Sunday, but I do think they'll try and choose a Sunday just for that particular reference. Iran telling its army to prepare for war, like they're going to be attacked any day now, and the possibility of an attack coming after Ramadan, which will be after June 4th. But in my interpretation, the possibility is it could happen during the month of Ramadan, and it could be connected to something that happens at this wedding on May 18th, possibly taking a large portion of the royal family, putting Prince Harry first in line, as he wouldn't be there because he'd be with Meghan. If the baby had or hadn't been born by then, either situation, he's likely to be with Meghan. If she was born, or if the baby was born tomorrow, the wedding would be just, trying to do my maths in my head, 13 days away from there, so the baby would be less than 2 weeks old. Unlikely that it'll be attending any public events like that. It's possible it could, I don't know. But either way, just keep an eye on that. And then obviously we've got all the other references to the, I don't know, possible meteor impact coming within the next 10 years, which has got NASA, FEMA, international agencies, um, various countries doing all sorts of things space-wise. That's it. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.